delay of applications and inability to put a park. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the afternoon session of the Board of County Commission meeting here in Seminole County. The date is March 25th, 2025. We are going to move on to our public hearing agenda. I will remind everyone, if you're here to speak on any of these matters today, make sure you get a speaker's form out in the lobby, fill that out, bring it down and hand it to the clerk here and make sure that she has it. So when it comes time to speak on an item that we can call you up. All right, I will go to the board, look for proof of publication.
So moved.
Second.
Motion is second. All those in favor? Aye. Carries unanimous. Ex parte. Any commissioner receive any ex parte? If so, disclose and how it was submitted.
Pass it along.
It has been submitted electronically.
Mine has been submitted electronically as well.
Mr. Chairman, I have items on 26 and 27 that I have here, and I'll submit to the clerk.
Very good.
Mine was passed along electronically.
I'll do that.
Unfortunately, the county manager and Commissioner Lockhart will not be with us today. They are feeling under the weather and not up to speed to be able to attend, so we're look forward to their return at the next meeting. The quasi-judicial hearing rules will be read into the record by Ms. Kate Latour, the county attorney.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. While the board welcomes comments from all persons with an interest in these proceedings, Florida law requires that the board's decision in quasi-judicial actions be supported by competent, substantial evidence presented to the board during the hearings on the applications. Competent, substantial evidence is such evidence as a reasonable mind would accept as adequate to support a conclusion. There must be a factual basis in the record to support opinion testimony from both expert and non-expert witnesses. Persons presenting testimony may rely on factual information that they present, information presented by county staff, information the applicant presented, or on factual information included in the county staff report to support their testimony. All persons who present written materials to the board for consideration must ensure that a copy of such materials is provided to the clerk for inclusion in the board's record of the proceedings and the official minutes. Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Ms. Latour. First item up is item 25, Lockhart Subdivision Partial Alley Right-of-Way Vacate. This will be presented by Ms. Caitlin Apgar. Our staff will present the application to the board. We will then go to the applicant to see if they have anything that they want to address with the board. Then we'll go to public input. We will then close public input and go for rebuttal to the applicant if they desire to do so. Ms. Apgar?
Good afternoon, Caitlin Apgar, Planning and Development Services. The applicant, Kevin Marilat, has petitioned Seminole County to vacate an abandoned, unnamed, unimproved portion of the public right-of-way in the Lockhart subdivision. The subject right-of-way is platted as a 15-foot wide alleyway in the Lockhart subdivision, which was platted in 1924. The alley exists between 2415 West 18th Street and a portion of Lot 9, Block 1 of Lockhart subdivision. 2415 West 18th Street contains a portion of platted lots 10, 11, and 12. The railroad takes up the other portion of the platted lots 10, 11, and 12. The applicant is the owner of this property as well as the other portion of Lot 9 on the other side of the alley. The requested portion of right-of-way to be vacated would unite that portion of Lot 9 with those portions of Lot 10, 11, and 12. The highlighted portion on the slide indicates that area to be vacated. The proposed subject area to be vacated is 85.67 feet on one side, 115.17 feet on the other side, and 15 feet wide, with an overall area of 1,506.27 square feet. The unconstructed alleyway would not meet minimum county standards for right-of-way width or roadway width. The vacate requested originated as a code violation from June 27th, 2024, due to the gate structures being installed in the alley as well as the encroachment of the AC pad. The applicant has provided letters of no objection from all applicable utility companies, and Public Works has no objection to the requested right-of-way vacate. The request complies with the requirements for vacating a right-of-way under Section 35.184 of the Seminole County Land Development Code and the authority of Florida Statute 336.09. Staff requests the Board of County Commissioners adopt the resolution vacating and abandoning an unnamed, unimproved portion of the public right-of-way in the Lockhart subdivision.
Thank you. Any questions for staff? I do have two. Has the gate and AC been removed from the right-of-way?
It is my belief it has not. I think it's contingent upon this being approved or denied.
Okay. Thank you very much. Is the applicant here and wish to address the board?
He is
If
here.
you'd like to come forward, if you'd like to address the board, if not, you're fine.
No.
I'm sorry?
Hold on.
Okay,
Move real slow here, sir.
okay. If we can get the portable microphone for this gentleman.
I really don't need it. I got a deep enough voice and I speak pretty loudly.
Okay. Your name and address for the record, please.
Kevin Merrilat, 2415 West 18th Street. I wasn't even aware this alley existed. I've lived there for almost 26 years. And I wasn't even aware this alley existed until it was brought to my attention a few months ago. Didn't know about it. I had no clue. I'd like to see it gone because I own property on both sides of it, and I'd like to have them joined together as one property.
Very good. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Any questions for the applicant before he gets too far away? Seeing none, thank you. He moves pretty quicker than he thinks. All right, do we have anyone here from the public wish to speak on this item?
No, sir.
Seeing none, we'll close public input and go to board action. This is Commissioner Herr's district.
Yes, Commissioners, I move that we adopt the resolution vacating and abandoning a portion of an unnamed, undeveloped right-of-way in the Lockhart subdivision as recorded in Plat Book 3, page 70 of the Public Records of Seminole County, Florida, for the property located on the south side of 18th Street, west of Southwest Road, more particularly known as 2415 West 18th Street, Sanford, Florida.
Second.
Motion and second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed, like sign. Carries unanimously. Thank you all very much. Next item up is item 26, Panther Street right-of-way vacate. This also be presented by Ms. Caitlin Apgar.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, before staff presents, as you all know, I wasn't present for the February 25th public hearing on this matter, which is continued here today. I do want to state that I did fully watch the meeting online, and the whole meeting. And I would like to ask the county attorney, because I watched the entire meeting online, I haven't had any conversation with any of my fellow commissioners about it, and I just want to make sure, do we have to repeat anything, or can we just pick it up where they left off?
No, thank you for stating that for the record, because this is a continued hearing, and you have watched the meeting that occurred a month ago. You have all the same information that your fellow board members
I just
do.
wanted to get that clear, put it on the record before we actually started any further discussion.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Ms. Apgar.
With that being said, Caitlin Apgar, Planning Development Services again. With that being said, I can represent this if you would like. I'm more than happy to if you want. It's the same presentation with the same recommendation and the same the same data as
Well,
before.
this is a continuance unless my fellow commissioners want to hear it presented again. I think we've heard it, but I'll leave
Sure.
it up to my colleagues. Does anybody have a desire for staff to go back through it?
Nope.
Seeing none? Okay, then we won't need any.
I do have,
Stand by if there's additional information,
sure.
but go ahead.
I do have additional letters of support and opposition that were sent out from yesterday, late yesterday and this morning.
Okay.
I do have a copy for everybody and
Sure.
one for the record.
Please distribute those, thank you. I did receive some as well yesterday. I don't know if this is the entirety of them, but thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you.
Okay, Ms. Apgar, do you have anything additional to add?
No, sir, thank you.
Thank you very much. Is the applicant here and wish to make any statements or presentation? Name and address for the record, please, sir.
Good afternoon, Philip Capro. I'm the attorney for the Lewises. My address is 5200 South US Highway 1792, Suite 1000, Castleberry, Florida, 32707. Inasmuch as we continued the hearing, or you all continued the hearing, because you were at a 2-2 vote previously, and I believe the two were in favor, was Chairman Zembauer and Commissioner Lockhart, and the two opposed were Commissioner Hare and Commissioner Constantine. Unless the commission is inclined to, I don't know, it's a county attorney question, unless the last vote stands with just Commissioner Delary adding his vote, which I don't think it does, I would ask that you all continue until you have a full body of 5, so that you can fully vet and make a final determination. I know that would require an additional continuance, but that would seem to me to be the only fair way to have a final resolution.
So your request is a continuance until we can seat an entire full board,
That is correct.
okay? Anything else?
That's, if they're not going to entertain that, then I would obviously make a presentation.
Of course. Sure, so the request is for continuance. I believe we should take that up first, is that correct?
Yes, and I would ask that your request specify what date you'd like it continued to.
The earliest possible date, which I believe would be April 8th, or April 2nd, which is the next date. I believe it's April 8th.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Correct. Okay. Well, I'm the district commissioner. I have no problem for continuance to seat a full board on the 8th. But we'll take some public input on the continuance only, and then we will give it to the board and let the board make a decision.
Okay.
Fair enough?
As long as you recall me if I have to make a presentation.
Absolutely. We certainly will.
Thank you very much.
We don't want to short anybody.
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner?
I believe that this request is outside of our agreed-to procedure to ask for continuance. Is that not correct, Madam Attorney?
The board's policies and procedures require that an applicant's request for continuance be submitted at least 48 hours in advance. That is correct.
Thank you. So since this is out, I'm not inclined to say no, but what I am inclined to do is that since the residents have come here not in full knowledge that Mr. Kaplow was going to ask for a continuance, that they be allowed a leeway to speak on whatever they want to speak as far as on the merits of the vacay.
So I don't necessarily have a problem with that, but remember, if we were hearing this today, we've already heard the input from many of these folks that are here today. We are to hear any new information, and if we are going to have a continuance, have a discussion about continuance from the input from the public.
Absolutely talk, Mr. Chairman, absolutely talk about the continuance. And if there is any new information, I think we should be
Sure.
able to hear that from the constituents also.
Yeah, fair enough.
may I address
Yes, Mr. Capello.
And you too, Mr. Capello.
very briefly? Just wanted to make sure everyone was aware. I did make sure that the primary neighboring owner of the property, who I believe is here today, Mr. Pizzuti, was made aware. He was copied on all the communications, so he was aware that I was going to be requesting a continuance. It should be no surprise to the board. I did send notification earlier and ensured to copy him. And as far as the 48 hours, I had no way of knowing there wouldn't be a full board today, and so otherwise I would have made the request sooner.
Understood. No, I get that. Nobody predicted that we'd have a county manager and a commissioner out sick today. I found out early this morning before I arrived. So with that said, we will go to public input. Let's call them up one at a time. And if you would state whether they are in favor or in opposition. And when you all come up, if you'd state your name and address for the record. We're not here to hear the same thing we heard last time. If you have something new to add, and you spoke last time, please do that, and speak about the continuation, whether you're in favor of continuing or not in favor of continuing. So let's call the first name, please.
Tara Merritt in opposition.
Ms. Merritt.
Thank you. I'm Tara Merritt. I live at 1580 Panther Street. If this is only specific to a continuance, I respectfully mention, does my time start for
It is.
the continuous portion? Do I get a separate time
No, ma'am.
for my statement?
3 minutes.
Okay. I don't think we should continue. There was a commissioner missing last time, and the attorney was okay with us moving forward. Also, Mr. Prezidi last time had a major medical event and asked for a continuance and was not granted that. The attorney still pushed for you all to discuss this matter, and now all of a sudden, respectfully, there's one missing, and now he's okay moving forward on those two instances. But my new information is that I lived there since 2011. It's my second time appearing on our behalf, and our position is still to deny this request. What I didn't share at the last meeting is I've spent 20-plus years in the real estate, with the majority of that in real estate title insurance. There was a time in my career I obtained and held my title insurance license with the state of Florida and was appointed by title insurance underwriters to issue and sign title commitments and policies. Over my career, I have witnessed boundary disputes. I share this because I want to convey I understand exactly what is going on here. So do my surrounding neighbors who have come before you against this. We know that this is not an equal exchange. The applicants erected structures without permits or using a survey, therefore taking over the county's right-of-way, preventing community access, and encroaching on neighboring properties. The applicants applied for this right-of-way vacate after pending litigation and in an effort to leave everything as is. It sets a bad example for our community to reward this behavior and sets precedents for future residents to repeat. When a right-of-way is vacated, it must benefit the community. I don't see how this benefits our community. It only benefits the applicants. A yes vote means awarding approximately 0.4 acres of county land for free to the applicants who fenced off whatever they wanted without regard and respect for the county, neighboring properties, and environment. Once made aware of their egregious actions, instead of removing or relocating their encroachments on Elm and Panther Streets, they applied for this right-of-way vacate. In closing, we hope you deny because it's not an equal exchange. It does not benefit our community, and these actions should not be condoned in our county. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Michael Prezzuti in opposition.
Mr. Prezzuti?
I'm going to use the overhead projector. I'm Michael Prezzuti. I reside at 980 Elm Street, and everything's falling here. 980 Elm Street, Noveno, Florida, 32765. I am the property immediately to the south of this Panther Street vacate. Last week, I addressed to each of you an email identifying and explaining in detail how the vacate of Panther Street will adversely affect my private property rights, possibly causing Seminole County to incur sizable damages. Please pay special attention to that email. Yesterday, I filed my own application to vacate Panther Street. That application is 25-009-00003, and it is only intended to help clarify the choice that you as commissioners can make on the vacate of Panther Street. The choice because at the last hearing, I showed you where we have multiple encroachments by Lewis. We have multiple breaches of the peace where Lewis has actually picked up and threw away surveyor flags, threatened their surveyors with bodily harm if they would continue their survey. We had to have a court intervention on that. Your authority to vacate Panther Street should be done only specifically with a public benefit. There is no public benefit to switching off a fee simple right-of-way for a drainage easement. Those are two totally different things. And as we have here, we see that the drainage easement is going to cost the county money when you go to use it. Not only that, with me filing for this vacate yesterday, I discovered that the applicant receives notice that a drainage easement is not proper from the county should you have any improvements on that property. This is exactly what Lewis has done. We need to have it finalized. We started in January with a unanimous vote to deny the petition. Please, today, 4 commissioners, let's have a unanimous vote again to deny the Lewis petition to vacate. Now, to make it clear, I did file a petition to vacate the exact same property, only in contradiction to Lewis's. It is my intent it is my interest, it is my desire that you not vacate Panther Street. Panther Street needs to stay there for numerous reasons for us residents. So please deny that vacate, get the Lewises to remove all of the obstructions they have on Panther Street, and denying the general public from accessing Panther Street. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Pizzuti.
Goodbye. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, I did have...
Next, speaker, please.
Okay.
Alicia Pizzuti in opposition.
Ms. Pizzuti?
Hello,
Welcome.
good afternoon.
If you'd pull the mic down
Sorry
closer
about
to you
that.
so we can hear everything.
Is there a
Thank you.
possibility I could put this up on the
Sure,
screen?
absolutely. If you could assist Ms. Pizzuti.
Thank you. So the red is going to be the, I'm sorry, Alicia Pursuti, 980 Elm Street, Oviedo, Florida, 32765.
And remember, let's try to keep this to the continuance, not what we've already heard previous hearings.
I don't think you've heard this.
Okay.
First of all, and second of all, I am against the continuance.
Okay.
Being that this is our third time we've taken off work and come down
Sure.
here. But real quick, let me just show you, the red is the row, and where you see the green, that is all the neighbors that have opposition. And you can see they all work around that row. We are the ones closest to it. This would be the third time you're hearing from me. And in fact, the third time you'll be hearing from each and every neighbor that is affected by the Lewis's row vacate. If you look at my attached picture, it marks in green every neighbor who has taken their time to come here to speak with you. The red mark is the Lewis and the public road that is being considered. Every single neighbor that surrounds this vacate has voiced their opposition to granting it. This has affected residents getting involved and voicing their concerns. Public comment is how you can tell what the locals want. By and large, and in an overwhelming capacity, us locals do not want this road vacated. We ask that you listen to us local residents, as we are the ones who are intimately known to the issues at stake in the situation surrounding this petition. We are the ones who are currently and will be directly affected by the actions you all take today. We all voted this commission in with the promise of protecting the wetlands on the rural boundary. And we ask that you do not reward anybody who are actively destroying it. Please, commissioners, defer to every single person here today and in the past who has asked you to deny this petition. trust us, your constituents, and vote no on this item. That's it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Pizzuti, we need to have that left with us.
Sure.
Enter, you got a copy? Great.
Yes.
Thank you. Just want to make sure we had a copy. Next person, please.
Richard Robertson in opposition.
Did you say Robertson?
Yes.
Mr. Robertson.
My name is Richard Robertson. I'm at 971 Elm Street, Florida 32765. And my position on this is I'm not in favor of spending any more of the taxpayers' money. And basically, I support preventive spending. And that's all I have to say.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Next individual, please.
Jeff Peterson in opposition.
Mr. Peterson?
Good afternoon, everybody. Jeff Peterson, 998 Elm Street, Oviedo. I am also in opposition of the land grant and would not like to see it continued. I think it's extremely irresponsible to giving up government-owned wetlands and the possible solution to our flooding problems just because someone applies and asks for it. This situation seems to be a net negative for all of our citizens. It costs nothing to keep it, yet can cost us all a lot in the future if you give it up, this grant to vacate this petition. From what I have seen, it seems all of the neighbors are in agreement of not wanting this road vacated. If the community is against it, I think it would be proper to follow their request to you. I think there is certainly a danger that long before, everyone next to a road will be applying to get their land vacated and overwhelming Seminole County with requests for free land. I think you should establish a baseline of how, why, and when to vacate and should be granted so this does not already happen. I know of some folks around me that are thinking applying one based on what they're seeing now, and this could turn into a nightmare for discontinued roads and privately owned ditches. So we don't want this. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
No, sir.
Anyone else here to speak on this matter? Seeing none, we'll close public input. Well, since we've heard all that, does the applicant wish to make any statements regarding the information that was just presented?
I actually reserve comment until after the issue of a continuance is taken up.
Yes.
Fair enough. All right, we will go to board action. This is my district. I would move a motion for continuance to sit when we have a full board. I think that's the April 8th, pending catastrophic events, unknown people not being here, whatever the case might be. So that's my motion.
Second.
Motion is second. Further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Like sign?
No.
2-2. All right. Anybody want to make another motion? Motion fails. And let me just say this before we get started on the motion. We just heard a right-of-way vacate, literally just before this. We heard that there's gates and air conditioning in the right-of-way. I heard during the last hearing that was a problem why this one shouldn't be vacated. I've heard from staff that this is wetlands, and there will never be any need for this property to be utilized for drainage, although we're going to reserve a drainage easement. So whether we were to vacate it now or not, the county still has the right to use this property for drainage, and I'm told it will never be a road as it was initially intended to be because it's wetlands. And if that's not correct, Mr. Slot, please correct me. Is that correct? Yes.
Mr. Chairman, for the record, Mr. Slot is identifying and acknowledging your statement.
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, the difference, in my opinion, is that one property on both sides was owned by the same person. And yes, they put things in the right-of-way, but that in the right-of-way was something that if it was not approved, we would have had him take out. In this case, there are neighbors that live all around this property that are concerned about not only what was built inside the right-of-way, but also have taken this to court. My concern is not about, the right-of-way per se, as much as this is a court action. This is a potential that we also had to study, regardless of whether we say it's not going to be used or can be used or will be used. The fact of the matter is, we don't know yet for sure. And the fact also is that there is things in the right-of-way, and if we grant this right-of-way, it could be built into the right-of-way, and then unfortunately, we would have to pay for the replacement if we ever, or the fixing or the dismantling, if we had ever paid it. I am more than happy, in absence of a lawsuit, which whether or not people say, lawyers, say it is or is not, subject to the right-of-way. The fact of the matter is, if we grant this property now, it'll prejudicial, I believe it would be a prejudice within the context of the lawsuit. And therefore, I'm happy to make a motion that we postpone this until after the lawsuit has been concluded.
So a question on that.
Or can I made a motion. If there's no second, we'll move
You made
along.
a proposal, so you want to turn that into a motion?
No, I made a motion.
Okay.
I said a motion. I
So
will
you
make
got
a
a
motion. Okay. If there's no second, fine, but,
Is there a second?
okay, that's fine. I just said that's what I would do.
Commissioner Herr had her hand raised.
Thank you. There is a piece of new information with regard to this. Mr. Prizzuti has filed a new motion in the existing lawsuit for an emergency motion to stop interference with the court jurisdiction. And so he's going to court to ask them to stop us from moving forward with this. And it was filed recently. And there's some interesting statements in here, and I actually would like to read them to you.
Please.
Give me a minute. The property on the other side of Elm Street and Panther Street was subdivided in 1914. Simple right-of-way dedicated as Elm Street and Panther Street. In the future, when my property, which is the 33 acres, is subdivided, an additional 25-foot wide, simple free right-of-way will be added to the Elm Street and Panther Street, thereby giving both streets 50 feet wide. So the intention here is to subdivide the 33 acres, and the angst is around that 25 feet being used as an entranceway. If the defendant is permitted to vacate the Panther Street, plaintiff's property rights will be irreparably damaged by not having Panther Street as a 50-foot wide right-of-way accessing the plaintiff's future subdivision. I hope that the neighbors understood that they're opposing this for a future subdivision for the road to be cut through to access. By the way, the road is not necessarily needed to access because it's got access points all the way around it. Mm-hmm. So, quite honestly, the intentions here are different than have been stated on the record.
Correct.
And it's in writing by the plaintiff's attorney, who happens to be the plaintiff.
And to your point, I think that's the conversation I asked staff to clarify at one of the hearings, was would this abatement impact the other property owner's ability to access their property in the future if it was subdivided as it's eligible to be subdivided under the current land use policy? And the answer I received was no. There is access, access from other areas. So I will go to the county attorney. I'm not going to play attorney, so I'm going to ask you all to, notwithstanding the legal action that is a civil matter between these two property owners, does that change the ability of the county to make a decision on whether we abandon a right-of-way or an easement?
Mr. Chairman, are you asking about the new filing that Commissioner Herr referenced?
No.
Just the lawsuit generally?
Correct.
No. From my review of the lawsuit as it stands today, it does not affect the board's ability to move forward with this request.
And I did share this with the county attorney, and I believe the county attorney has said that this does not interfere with our ability to make a decision either.
Correct.
Correct.
Chairman,
Fair enough.
there may be
Yes.
one more thing that may be germane to the situation,
Yes,
because
Ms.
there was
Porter.
one more item, if I could.
Please,
If-
please.
There was one more item that was brought up that was new, and that was Mr. Prezzudi's application for a vacation of the Panther Street right-of-way. The way that right-of-way vacations work when they're platted is that if the right-of-way is on the edge of a plat, the entirety of that right-of-way, the underlying, the easement, essentially the reverter claim or the easement the county has over it goes away, and that the entirety of that right-of-way, that 25 feet, would go to the Lewises if it is vacated. So he's made a request, but he's not authorized in this case to get any property from that because his property was not part of the original plat. So there's no ability for him to, now if this were a right-of-way done not by plat, in a different way, by a grant or something like that, it would be different, but in this case, he has no rights to that underlying fee.
Right, I read the letter, his letter sent to us, which I forwarded to the clerk. That was my understanding from a previous inquiry I had with staff on this particular plat. And so thank you for clarifying that very much. Okay. Any other questions for staff or attorneys? I will be looking for an additional motion. Last motion failed.
Does that not put us in the position where we simply need to hear the argument? There was a request for an
Yes.
extension. It failed. Failing any other new ideas.
Mr. Capro, please come up. We'll give you some rebuttal time.
Thank you, Commissioners. Well, I think much of what I would say has already been unearthed. The Prezzudi's true intentions have revealed themselves through what was identified as an emergency motion. The court determined it was not an emergency, which is why it hasn't been heard yet. Also, notably, the county has not been named in that lawsuit. The county is not a party to that lawsuit. And so there's no jurisdiction for the court to direct this commission what they can and can't do, absent them being a party to the lawsuit. And I'm not your attorney, but I'm pretty sure your county attorney would agree with that position. What we're talking about here is land that was originally part of the plat, as Ms. Borkert?
That's correct.
Thank you, just said. So effectively, that land would have been part of the Lewises had it not have been originally given back to the county, and they're simply asking for have it back because it's not going to be used by the county. To the extent that the county might use it for an easement or for drainage, or for utilities, they're happy to provide that. They're even happy to provide a provision in the resolution, if you all would entertain it, that they would be responsible, should there ever be anything in that easement area in the way of a structure, that they are prepared to be the ones financially responsible for removing and replacing and doing whatever they need to do to undo whatever is there. Parenthetically, there's all this conversation about how a garage is in the right-of-way. The garage is not in the right-of-way. The garage is next to the right-of-way. It abuts the right-of-way. But currently, there is nothing in that right-of-way in the way of a structure. There's a fence and a gate that's been there for 20-plus years that all of the neighbors have seen and never had a problem with. So realistically, I understand that the neighbors are all providing their position, but I don't think they have all the underlying facts, and I don't think that they have all of the underlying knowledge of what specifically is being asked for here. I think they're hearing one side and supporting one neighbor over another, and that happens. But that should not form the basis of a decision by the commission.
Sir.
Mr. Chairman, can I ask
Yes.
Mr. Capro a question?
Certainly, Mr. Capro, you entertain a question from the dais?
Mr. Capro,
Absolutely.
you just stated that
The applicant.
applicant would be willing to add a clause that if we did grant the vacate of the right-of-way and just have a stormwater easement, that any structure on that property, if needed for stormwater, they'd be willing to pay to remove that structure.
100%, that's correct.
Any other inquiries?
I just
Mrs.
wanted to
Fuller.
point out that the applicant has already executed a drainage easement in favor of the county, which agrees to not put anything in the easement area that would interfere with the county's drainage rights. While the express language of reimbursement is not in there, that is their commitment to not impede the drainage easement with any sort of structure that wouldn't allow the county to put whatever drainage improvements in there it needed. And we would have an enforceable document to turn to if that were to be breached.
That was my understanding, so thank you for that. Commissioner Herr?
Well, and I think the new language that's been suggested actually doesn't go as far as that language goes. That says don't build anything. What we said was if you build anything, you'll move it. I would rather have it this language and add the reimbursement language to it if we go down that path.
Which
And
I
we
don't,
would-
I don't disagree with.
The applicant would be fine with that as well.
Any other inquiries of Mr. Capro, the applicant? Seeing none?
The last point I would make is Mr. Pizzuti apparently filed an application for vacating the same right-of-way, so regardless of what he said here today, he seems to be looking for the same thing the Lewises are looking for, which is a vacation of the right-of-way. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Well, I'll move for a motion to grant the right-of-way with the additional language that indicates that the owner shall incur all costs of any removal of any structure or any improvements that are placed there by that owner should the county have a need to use that for a drainage easement.
I'll second that with an adjustment, removal and replacement. They don't just pay to remove it. We're not planning to put anything back that goes there.
That's fair.
Mr. Chairman?
It's a motion and second. Comment.
Yes. In our last retreat, I suggested that I really had a concern about the chairman making motions even in their own district, and that I would be happy to make that motion if was the one that he wanted to make. And I would prefer, if you will, that you allow, I was opposed to this. And I got to tell you that what Commissioner Herr just read, and the fact that they are willing to do what I have from the beginning had a concern about, I think that now we have come to a position, and that our attorney has said that there is no relevance to the lawsuit that would affect us or the neighbors, trying to, their concern about the lawsuit, their rights in the lawsuit. I would be happy to now make that motion that you just made, if you would allow me to do so.
So, first of all, I'm happy for you to be able to make that motion. I have no problem with that at all. We've had this debate. The county.
Which one?
The county.
Which one?
The county's rules and admin code do allow and permit the chair to make a motion. So, I know you don't like that, but I'm happy, in the interest of time and moving this along, I'm happy to retract my motion and ask Commissioner Constantine to make the motion.
And I will move that motion if Commissioner Herr will make the second.
I will second it even when you make the motion, Commissioner.
Are you going to make the motion,
I
Commissioner?
already did, yes. I
He
moved that
did.
motion,
He did. I
yes.
second it.
All right.
I'll call the question, though. How about that?
Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed, like sign. Carries unanimous. Thank you all very much. Next item up is item number 27, Seminole Science School Expansion Small Scale Future Land Use Map Amendment and PD Rezone. This applicant is requesting a continuance from the March 25th BCC meeting to the April 22nd BCC meeting. Ms. Annie Sillaway will be the presenter.
Good afternoon. Annie Siloway, Senior Planner for Development Services. The applicant initially requested a continuance from the March 25th BCC meeting to the April 22nd BCC meeting. However, the applicant has requested to continue the May 13th BCC meeting. In accordance with Section 2.85 of the Administrative Code, the applicant submitted in writing as required, and requests for continuances are not automatically granted, and the applicant or their representative is required to attend the meeting at which the public hearing or agenda item is scheduled and must be prepared for the board to review and act upon the item. And the applicant is here today.
Thank you very much. If the applicant would come forward, please. Welcome, Mr. Spain.
Hey, Chairman. Thank you. Fellow Commissioners, Brent Spain, Theriac and Spain, 1809 Edgewater Drive, Orlando, Florida. And as Ms. Siloway indicated, we originally had asked for a continuance till the April 22nd meeting, and that was to allow time for us to have that follow-up neighborhood meeting that the commission asked us to do. We had facilitated that the week after the meeting in February. We waited several weeks to get dates from the Lake Mary Woods Homeowners Association. They ended up proposing March 17th, 18th, and 19th. So we had a meeting scheduled for March 19th, which would have been cutting it really close to make the agenda packet with any revisions to the development order. And then the Lake Mary Woods HOA, I guess I'd overlooked that was during spring break. So they ended up asking us to reschedule it. So we have accommodated that. In fact, the meeting is this evening at 6:30, which then allows us time. Ms. Siloway had indicated her internal deadline for agenda packets is April 4th. So to make the May 13th meeting. So that's what's driving from going from April 22nd to May 13th.
Okay. Any questions for the applicant? Seeing none. All right, sir. Thank you very much. We'll call you for rebuttal if needed. Anyone here from the public to speak on this item?
No, sir.
Seeing none, we'll close public input. This is Commissioner Lockhart's district. Would anybody care to make a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I will move that we postpone both 28 and 27 and 28 to a time certain of May 13th.
Second.
Motion is second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Carries unanimous. Thank you all very much. Next, we will move to the county attorney's report. Ms. Latour.
Mr. Chairman, I have one request of the board to make this afternoon. I am seeking authorization to initiate litigation against Benchmark Construction Company, LLC, Liberty Mutual Insurance Company, and MG Underground, LLC. This is in relation to a 2022 contract the county entered into with the parties for the Country Club Heights Sewer and Water Main Replacement Project. You may recall that after several lengthy delays in the project and deficient work, the board approved termination of the contract in November of 2024. Since November, county staff and my office have been working with the surety company and the contractors, attempting to reach a resolution and to exercise our rights under the performance bond. Unfortunately, we've made very little progress, and I think it's the time to initiate litigation, and so I'm looking for a motion approving same.
I'll be happy to make that motion.
Second.
Motion is second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Seeing none, you have your direction, ma'am.
Thank you, and that concludes my report.
Oh, okay. Great. Next up, county manager's report and any staff presentations.
Yes, sir. I have only one item for you, and that is an update with respect to fluoride, and I've actually asked our assistant county manager, Christian Swenson, to provide that.
Okay. Mr. Swenson?
Christian Swenson, Assistant County Manager. I believe, as most of you know, that the state Surgeon General had changed their opinion on the use of fluoride in water and the health effects of that, and there's also a bill making its way through the legislature to also regulate that. As a result of that changes and also communications that the county is receiving, we would like to bring back an update to you at the April 8th meeting on fluoride and discuss the topic.
Okay. Any questions for staff?
Nope.
So you want to bring it back on April 8th?
Yes, sir.
I'm okay with that.
Fabulous.
Thank you.
Commissioner Delory, Commissioner Constantine, y'all okay with that?
We'll wait for the 8th.
Okay,
Well,
you got your direction.
all I was going to say is, why not wait for the legislature? But if you all want to hear it, okay.
Fair enough. Okay, anything else from the county manager's office? Nothing else?
Tricia, no.
Thank you, I'm sorry. I apologize, I was.
She had a milk dud.
And by the way,
See what the update is on the bill you requested from Monty Tools.
Okay.
Watching for that.
all right. Well, now we'll go to district commissioner reports. Commissioner Hurd, District 5.
I will be brief. I attended on the 14th of March, the Women Saving the Vote. That was their title, not ours, but it was held by Tiger Bay, and our new supervisor of elections did a wonderful job. They hosted, it was Lake County, Polk County, Orange County, Seminole County, all for our women that are now supervisor of elections. It was a very nicely done by Tiger Bay. On the good news front, I will continue with that. I attended the Interfaith Iftar in March, and that was an amazing event. Happy to have been there. On a different note, Cabana Live has started up again, and so your offices may be getting phone calls for the special events that they're hosting. That include names that I won't say on the record. The information is in your offices. The team professionals are once again circling the wagons. Tricia has engaged with the sheriff's office. We do know that the sheriff's office was notified in advance of the last one that happened, but we're still getting phone calls with regard to noise and the inappropriate nature of it. So more to come on that at some point. Just know that I am aware of it as the district commissioner. The Port Authority is aware of it. The Port Authority has limited jurisdiction based on the leases and based on zoning, et cetera, but we are re-looking at it to see if there's anything that we can do. I will wrap this up by saying that, well, two wrap-ups. One, on the 5th of April is the Rescue on the River, which is the next fundraiser for the Rescue Outreach Mission. And to all of those employees, professionals on the Seminole County government team and anybody that's in our program, it is Thrive for 5 time, so I'm giving the annual plug to take care of yourself. Go get your annual exam, get your lab work done, and get your reductions and your payroll deductions based on your good behavior of taking care of yourself. And thank you. I thought this was really cool. It's an advancement in our notifications, so I was excited about that. That is it.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Delory, District 1.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As the county representative for Metro Plan Orlando, we are working with the Metro Plan Alliance, MPO Alliance, which is a 9-county organization, and we're trying to get new funding or additional funding for the bridge on I-4 going over the St. Johns River. And so we're asking entities that actually come in contact with not just I-4, but the bridge, to give us a resolution of support so we can actually present this to the state. I plan on talking about this in greater detail at a future agenda item, but I would like to, at some point, put this on the agenda. So instead of emailing it to your offices, I'd like to present it to you today, and then at the next meeting, discuss it. And then we'll take it up from there. But we're not looking for funding from the board. We're looking for new funding from the state to move the widening of I-4 from basically Lake Mary up into Volusia County, including the I-4 bridge. That's what this would do.
So you're asking for approval to write a letter of support, or you want to agendaize it for a
I'd like
letter
to
of support?
agendaize this so that we can discuss it at a future agenda item.
I'm happy to do that if that's what you want to do, but I will tell you that as part of Congressman Mills' Transportation Board, Volusia County has, that's one of their asks, to support, for the congressman to support bringing federal dollars to that project, just so you're aware.
And we're aware of that. We've spoken to Volusia County, we've spoken to DeLand, we've spoken
Great.
to DeBerry, we've spoken to Sanford, we've spoken to a lot of entities.
Okay.
We haven't spoken to Seminole County yet.
Sure.
So I'm bringing this back so we can put this on the agenda so we can discuss it.
Commissioner Herr?
I'd be delighted to have it on the agenda. I get stuck in it all the time. I would add Orange City and Deltona to the mix,
We're getting
all of
them-
those.
Commissioner Hearn, we're getting them all, we're just, this is one of the stops.
And for those of us that go to New Smyrna, I suspect they'd be delighted to get that bridge fixed
I
as
understand
well,
that.
because their Friday night could start
Just
earlier.
In order for me to get something that's approved, I got to bring it to this board. I didn't want to just keep
Yep.
you, catch you cold. I'd like to put this on the agenda for our approval at a future agenda item. That's why I'm bringing this.
Okay, y'all got it? Good
Thank you,
stuff.
Commissioner.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Commissioner.
Last week, I had the honor and privilege to actually meet with Christina W. Smith. We know her as Christina Watkins. She is a Channel 2 anchor person. She actually grew up in Oviedo, and she wrote a book, children's book, and it's Tiffany's Growing a Garden. And I was there when she read the book to a bunch of children, and it was amazing to see their faces light up and her interact with the little ones. I did ask for copies. She did give us copies, and they're autographed to each one of you. So I'd like to pass this down. If you take the top one, it's assigned to you. It's got your name on it. So this one's yours, Jay.
Okay.
The next one's Andrew Hers. This one is yours, Commissioner.
Thank you very much.
I have Lockhart's here. And I would like to, after we look at this, see about putting this in our library. It's a great children's book, and it's actually written by someone that actually grew up here in Seminole County, went to Seminole County schools, and artist rendition. I actually saw the picture. It's about a sister who's no longer with us. And if you see the original picture of Tiffany, the artist rendition, the artist did a phenomenal job and should be commended. But more importantly, News 2 anchor Christine Watkins should be commended for doing a book about emotions, and it's just great that she actually did this, so I commend her for that. I would like to talk to the county manager about how do we put a book like this in our libraries. Books like this should be in our libraries, but. And then also at the Children's Alliance, the Health Department presented this prevention resource guide. I want to make sure we all have a copy of it, so if we could pass that down as well.
Sure.
And then last, I'm not needing any action at this time, but staff is working with myself and the residents, Trinity Bay, which is over by Aloma and Tuscaloosa. It's a townhouse unit. Staff has been working very hard with the townhouse unit. They have a lot of flooding, and their flooding is actually causing a couple of homes to flood. And we've actually spoken to St. John's to talk about code enforcement on them. One of the things we did find out that the plans that when the townhouse unit was built wasn't actually completed, and they're trying to figure out how to get that done, as well as maintenance issues. And I wanted to just bring this up to everyone's attention, because every time we have a minor rainfall, 2 homes actually flood. I've been out there one evening, and when they say a river runs through it, a river definitely runs through their house with fish. I'll be sending you all photos and videos showing you the stream that actually goes through a person's living room, and it's quite sad. And I plan on bringing this back up in another update from the district, but I didn't want you caught off guard. I'm looking not for no action at this point. Hopefully staff will brief you all, and we'll be talking about this in the future. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Commissioner Constantine, District 3.
Thank you very much. As you know, this past week was Florida Association of Counties Legislative Days in Tallahassee. I know that Tricia, as well as the county manager, as well as Commissioner Lockhart, and I were there. I did want you all to know that I did have a conversation with Senator Pasadoma's office concerning the Live Local Act and the potential of the property that we all know is concerning to us in the Wekiva Protection Area, and possible solutions for that. Also, I know we've all received a number of emails concerning 1118 and that egregious bill, and that's what it is. But I will tell you that because of the public outrage and the concerns of many of the senators, that it is being rewritten as we speak. I do not know what it will look like, but if it wasn't for the fact that citizens all over the state of Florida, including the sponsor's own Republican Party citizens, that bill would probably continue to move through the process. But in talking to the Florida Association of Counties lobbyist today, he was in their office waiting for the rewrite. So I just wanted to let you know that I think that we have to keep our diligence in watching that bill, but we don't know what it's going to look like. But thank everyone out there and everyone throughout the state that has indicated how difficult, how terrible 1118, Senate Bill 1118, and the agricultural enclaves, which is doing the very opposite of what, revitalization of the rural area would do. Also, I did want to say that at the Longwood Community Center on Thursday, there's going to be the Pearls of Seminole County Leadership Luncheon. On also the 27th luncheon, the League of Women Voters will have a Hot Topics at Embassy Suites in Altamont, in which I believe you, Mr. Chairman, will be one of the people on the podium.
I will.
So
On the
wish
hot
you the
seat.
best. On the 29th, many of you remember that I brought forth a young man that wanted to get his Eagle Scout medal, to do the Medal of Honor. He wanted to do as his project the Medal of Honor Memorial Project at our Criminal Justice Center. We all gave him permission as long as we agreed to the language and the plaque. That all has been done, and he will be doing that program on March 29th at 10 a.m. at the Criminal Justice Center. Also, I believe that we, Seminole County, are having a vendor fair and resource management purchasing and contracts to all those out there that wish to work with the county on March 31st at the Lake Mary Events Center. And also that same day, there at the Marriott, at the courtyard near the Marriott Lake Mary, there is the Taste of Lake Mary by the Lake Mary Rotary Club, which I know that Commissioner Herr is not, I think, a member of, but she says she's done more work than most members.
Yeah,
in
shout
that.
out to the Lake Mary Rotary for forgetting to say that. We've already bought our tickets, and I've already done a sponsorship. But
Wonderful.
hopefully they'll forgive me.
Also on April 2nd, there is the CFX is doing the Refined Alternative Public Workshop for the state on 4th 17, and again, I defer to Commissioner Herr, who's on that, but that will be at the Galileo School in Sanford for those that are interested. Also, something that's very near and dear to Commissioner Delory is the Kids House Unity Candle Lighting, which will be April 3rd at 10 a.m. at their offices. And we will have a branch at the Castleberry Branch Library, a Kids Zone ribbon cutting event on the 3rd at 2:30. Did want to let everybody know that we are, after a hiatus last year, we are having the Springs concert again, but it will no longer be at the Springs. It will be at Crane's Roost, and it will be both April 4th and 5th at Crane's Roost. And so I think that'll be a wonderful venue for that location, although I am sad that it's moved from the Springs. And also on the 5th, there is the 12th Annual East Altamont Unity Day at the Boys and Girls Club in Wynwood Park, East Altamont Springs. I will also say one thing. The 111 is Senate Bill 1118. I just want everyone to know that even though it hasn't moved in the House, that means nothing at this early stage in the session. That could be picked up, moved, re-referred, taken out. I remind you that back in 2000, I had 4 references to the Unified Building Codes with only 1 week left, and I got it on the floor. So just continue, please, to be diligent on that. And the last thing is, we all remember how difficult it was on Shadow Bay. And we all know that we came to conclusion, and it was our staff and did a great deal of the hard lifting to make sure that that worked. Well, one of the folks that was very much involved, Vlad, I'm going to try, please forgive me, Simonisky is retiring from us. I think he's going to Apopka. But he was the one that did a lot of the heavy lifting that helped us get through, and those citizens get through that difficult situation. I wanted to wish him all the best in his next adventure. And with that, Mr. Chairman, I'm done.
Thank you very much, Commissioner. March 12th, I also attended and was humbled to be able to speak at the Interfaith Iftar 2025. Commissioner Herr was there, Commissioner Delary was there, and many others, elected officials, as well as folks from all around the county. Really a special event, it really is. March 13th was our board retreat. I want to thank each and every one of you for attending. I want to thank staff who did such a great job in bringing stuff to us for consideration, so we were able to give guidance for our strategic plans and so forth. So sincerely thank you all for doing that. March 14th, I attended the Fire Station 42, which is in my district of Geneva. The 2 Good Samaritans who rescued a resident who had capsized in Lake Harney near death and was transported to the hospital, brought back to life, and he was there with his wife and the 2 individuals who helped rescue him, and our firefighters and paramedics. It was really a special reunion of those people to get together. And ironically, and I thought they were joking when I first got there to talk to them, the poor gentleman that had become capsized in the boat, when the 2 other boaters got there to hang on to him on the side of the boat in freezing water before our paramedics got there, grabbed his fishing pole, and there was actually a fish on it, which they took and they ate and thanked him for catching a fish for them.
So there was no alligators around Lake Harney.
Well, it was too cold, I guess, more than likely. But it was really a great mankind, type story for people to reach out to other people and help them, to help our firefighters and paramedics get this man back to his family. Also, April 24th is the Golden Eagle Dinner for the Scouts. Just putting that on everybody's radar. I'll give you more updates as we progress. Also, for those who are not aware, Justice E.C. Perry has published a book in the Florida Historical Society. It's available, called Benchmarked, about his time on the bench and his story. I've ordered my copy. It may be something that interests all of you. His life story, becoming the first justice to be, hail from Seminole County. So you may want to look into that. Outside of that, I think that's all I have. We will now move to public comment items not related to today's agenda. And remind everyone, this is 3 minutes per person. These are for things that weren't on the agenda today and are items that the county commission has some control or ability to impact or affect. This is not something related to the school board or something related to something outside of our purview. So If you have something, we will start that. You'll call one at a time up, if you would, please, Ms. Dominique.
Justin Harvey.
Mr. Harvey, if you'd come up and briefly just give us a quick overview, what you want to talk about, your name and address for the record, and welcome.
Thank you. My name is Justin Harvey. I'm at 1025 Hamlet Drive in Maitland. Thank you so much for having me here today. I am today here calling for you to end the practice of water fluoridation, and as I just heard, you're going to be talking about it very soon. I'm grateful for that. And I'm calling for this due to the new and evolving science that we know has come out, this federal court case, and also the overall principle, I think, of giving people a choice. That federal court case, some people will say it's just one court case, but I also remind people we have 75 JAMA studies were recently published. Dr. Mallon has been touring the state with Dr. Latipo. And after that state guidance was issued, we've had 25 cities have the discussion, 19 of which removed fluoride pretty quickly, and 14 of those 19 decisions were unanimous, which I think really sends a pretty clear message across Florida. As I'm sure you heard, Longwood, Lake Mary, Leesburg, Lakeland, New Smyrna, Ormond, just to name a few around this area. And if you weren't aware, Castleberry, Apopka, Winter Garden, Claremont have never added fluoride to their drinking water, which I always thought was interesting. Winter Springs voted it out in 1996. I say that to illustrate that this is not a trend or political, as some people have framed. This has been going on for a while. I personally brought about 50 studies into the Orange County Commission meeting about 8 years ago. And now we've just got a federal judge that has corroborated it, essentially what has happened. A Harvard journal classified it as a neurotoxin in 2014. And there's enough documented risk, I think, at this point that we just have to give people a choice, because where there is risk, and there is with all medications, there must be choice. And we are, administering a medication to the public as a one-size-fits-all. This is the one medication we can't opt out of. I can say no to anything my doctor, prescribes or tells me, but this one comes out of the faucet. You've either got to spend a lot of money or dig a well, and not everybody can do that. We're also cooking with it. We're bathing with it. The county is essentially not able to control the dose to an infant, an elderly person, a 300-pound man. And I think that's a concern. And if we learned anything from COVID, I think, forced medical treatments don't typically work out. You got to give people the option of whether they want to take it or not. It's also important to mention it's not naturally occurring fluoride. It is a hydrofluosilicic acid that comes from the phosphate industry. A lot of times a newspaper will call it a naturally occurring mineral. And while that's in the groundwater at about 0.2, we add a chemical waste from the phosphate industry. Personally, don't want to be drinking that. 95% of the world does not fluoridate their water, just like Castleberry, and we don't have a dental crisis in these areas, which I think is also important to point out. Again, thank you all for bringing this up. I just want to encourage you, don't wait for the state. I know you mentioned that, and I think it's best to use your local control. Exercise home rule. We always want to keep the state out of our local affairs, right? Let's not throw the controversial issue up to them and just let them handle it. Let's be brave, let's have the discussion, and let's remove the unreasonable risk to pregnant women and children, as the federal judge put it. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Next, please.
Sherry Johnson.
Welcome, Ms. Johnson.
Hello. I'm Sherry Johnson, and I'm from 172 Williams Road in Lake Mary, Florida, resident of Seminole County since 1987, and native Floridian. So I agree with everything that Justin said. I'm a certified functional nutrition and lifestyle practitioner. I found this history in an article on the Ohio State University website. In the 1950s, Central Florida contained some of the largest phosphate deposits in the world, providing a key ingredient for global agriculture, synthetic fertilizer. However, the production of fertilizer resulted in the release of highly toxic gases, including hydrogen fluoride and silicone tetrafluoride, into the air. Before 1970, these gases contributed to some of the worst air pollution in the country. By the 1960s, after many complaints, manufacturers began using pollution abatement scrubbers. These scrubbers converted the toxic gases into fluorosilicic acid, or FSA, a dangerous but more manageable liquid waste. OSHA warns that exposure to FSA can cause severe lung damage, burns, and excruciating pain. For the past 50-plus years, FSA has been stored in high-density plastic tanks and transported from Florida's fertilizer factories to water reservoirs across the U.S., where it is drip-fed into the drinking water supply. Fluoride is a waste product that is so toxic it is not allowed to be dumped into the landfills or released into the air, but is okay to be added to your water supply. The negative health impacts of fluoride include gastrointestinal issues, cystic acne, chronic migraines, chronic nosebleeds, chronic hives, interference with the thyroid, calcification of the pineal gland, which impacts hormone regulation, kidney function issues, glucose level disruption, bone fragility, an increased risk of cancer, fluorosis, or tooth discoloration, which my children actually, who grew up in Seminole County, have. Neurological disorders such as ADHD per the NIH. My youngest has ADHD. The NIH published a study in 2020 that found there is no known essential function for fluoride in cells and organisms. Studies have shown that children who ingest fluoride may have lower IQs, and the Lancet Neurology Journal has categorized fluoride as a developmental neurotoxicant similar to lead, methylmercury, and arsenic. It's apparently very toxic. The warning label on the children's Colgate toothpaste says to call poison control right away if swallowed. What kid doesn't swallow toothpaste? The longer fluoride stays in our water supply, the greater chance the citizens of Seminole County may have one or more of the negative health impacts I listed. It is obvious fluoride is toxic. There's no informed consent to add it to our water supply, and people are not deficient in fluoride. So I am so grateful that you're going to bring it up on April 8th, because I really think it's an important topic. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Dominique, anyone else here to speak on any non-agenda item?
No, sir.
Seeing none, we'll close public comment. Anything else good for the order before we close the meeting? Seeing none, we are hereby closed the meeting. Thank you all very much for attending today.